Lovely. Okay, cool. So let's get started then. Okay, let's see if Canva will let me go into present mode. Excellent. Okay, cool. Oh, we have Nadia on here as well. So we have Ellie and Nadia in the chat. So if you've got any immediate questions, those guys are available. All right, awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining for this webinar called Quick and Easy SEO Wins for Your Website. We did another webinar a couple of weeks ago now, how to build the best SEO strategy for your website. Went down really well. Really good webinar. I think people found it very helpful. High customers and non-high customers, this webinar isn't just for our customers. I'd like to think that it provides value. I talk about a lot of free tools that you can use, most of the time just using Google. Google is such a powerful SEO tool in itself if you know how to use it for the benefit of your SEO performance. So what we're going to go through today are just quick and easy SEO wins, things that you can really just do straight away after this webinar. Some will be a bit more intense, resource intense, but I think there's going to be a lot of things in here that you can just do very, very quickly and identify an opportunity or potentially identify a problem that you need to rectify. Because there's lots of things that impact where you rank in Google, lots of variables. And sometimes if you get one of them just a little bit wrong, it can impact a lot of things. So it's very much worth making sure that you cover all the things in this webinar from your own, whether it's your own website or your clients' websites, from that point of view to make sure that they're performing as best as they can. Okay, cool. So let's go. So meet the presenter. So my name's Andy and I'm an SEO. For all of our customers who use Hike, you'll probably know who I am. I'm one of the co-founders of the platform. If you're new to Hike, you've never used Hike before, so hello. Hike's a platform that's built for small businesses. It's built for people that aren't SEO experts, but understand that they need to improve their organic performance. And it tells you step by step with personalized instructions every month on how to climb the Google rankings. So as I say there, in this webinar, what you're going to learn is some of the quick wins that we've discovered over the years, whether that's our experience with our customers at Hike using the platform, or whether it's the team's experience in SEO in previous roles as well. Hopefully I've condensed as much as I can into an hour-ish webinar and try and impart as much knowledge. There's going to be loads, don't take notes. Like I say, we're going to send the recording out afterwards, so you'll have the ability to watch it again and work through all the points that I'm going to run through. Okay, let's talk about the structure. So we're going to talk about quick SEO wins across 6 different areas. So first, keywords, choosing keywords. Secondly, on-page optimization. Third, technical SEO. Some quick wins we can get there. Fourth, Google Search Console. Fifth, backlinks, any quick wins we can get there. And 6, blog. And then 7, if we've got time, hopefully a Q&A. So for those that didn't catch it, if you've got any questions, please post it in the chat box in Zoom as we go along. And then I'll answer them at the end. Okay, perfect. So first section, quick wins for keywords. So the bedrock of all SEO campaigns, right? It's what we're all trying to achieve. It's trying to rank for keywords, and it's all about finding the perfect keywords for the website you're working on. So these are the keywords that the customers are searching. So there's 3 areas we're going to talk about. First, low-hanging fruit. Second, transactional versus informational. If you did catch the previous webinar on how to build an SEO strategy, you'll be very much aware of that second section, but it's such an important point, and it is a quick win in terms of how you should approach your SEO that I think needs to be mentioned again. And then the Hike search box. That's a quick win within the platform to help you find the best keywords. So let's talk about low-hanging fruit. So what is low-hanging fruit in SEO terms? So you can see on the left here, if you search a keyword, I've got an example there, SEO. If you're on page 2 and your website's there, right? So anywhere on page 2, it could be the top of page 2, bottom of page 2, could even be the bottom of page 1. Essentially, a low-hanging fruit is a keyword that you're ranking for where you're not in the top half of page 1. So the first page gets all the clicks. If someone searches SEO, not many people go to the second page. Not many people go to the bottom of the first page. A few do. But if you're ranking, bottom of first page, second page, maybe even third page, you're there or thereabouts, right? You're doing something pretty good, but you're not quite in those positions where you're going to get through all those traffic and leads and customers, hopefully, right? Now, the good thing about identifying those keywords is you've not got far to go, right? You've only got to go up 5 positions, 10 positions. Now, admittedly, it does get more difficult the closer you get to page 1, but you're not a million miles off. Whereas a lot of people, when they start SEO, all they think about are the keywords they're not ranking anywhere for. They're like, right, we're nowhere for this keyword, let's optimize it. And then you've got the time scale when it comes to SEO. Actually, don't start there. Start with the keywords that actually you're ranking very close to the first page for, and try and optimize those. Can you do some better on-page optimization? Can you do some internal linking to try and boost? Can you do some external linking, right? So the next question is, how do you identify low-hanging fruit? So I'm going to show you, any SEO tool will do this, right? Or you can do it yourself if you know all the keywords you're ranked for. But I'm going to show you how to do it in Hike, because a lot of people viewing this webinar are Hike customers and want to show you how the platform works. So I'm going to quickly jump out. And I'm going to jump into it for our demo account on Hike, right, which is hikeseo.co, really relevant, right? So what you want to do, if you want to look for your low-hanging fruit, you want to come over here, you want to go under strategy and go down to competition. If you click on competition, it takes you to this part. Now, at the left here, you've got a website, which would be one of your competitors, and then a drop-down. Now, you'll always see in the drop-down your own website or the website you've added into Hike. That will always be added there, because we bring this information in for that website as well. So if you click on here, this gives you a really good list of keywords that you currently rank for. Bear in mind, this data is taken over a 3-month period. So it might not be where you rank for exactly right now, but it will be where you roughly rank for. It's a really good litmus test, I guess, for how well you're performing. Now, if you scroll down, you've got a table here. It gives you all the keywords you rank for, what page ranks, and what position. What I like to do when I'm looking for low-hanging fruit is I like to click on search volume. You click it once, it shows you it in ascending order. You click it twice, it shows you in descending order. So now I can see all of the keywords that we rank for in descending order in terms of search volume. So the phrases with the biggest number of searches. And what I'm really looking for here is I'm looking for phrases that are from the 8 to 20 positions, right? 8 to 20, because that means you're at the bottom of page 1 through to the bottom of page 2. And I'm going, right, what keywords are there that we can look, that perhaps we're not even optimized for, didn't realize. So you can see here, we're on position 4 for that. Here you go, 26, page 3. Here's one here. So white label features, SEO white label, position 16,720. Now, we do have this page, we optimize it for SEO, white label SEO tool. So maybe we could look to actually push that for SEO white label. It's very, very similar. Headings website. So this is a nice one. And I've actually got one I prepared for earlier. If you move down here, actually, this is a really interesting one. This kind of was something that I learned through going through this process. So we have a blog post, how to find H1 headings on the web page. Now, for the keyword H1 tags, we're at position 27. It's got a search volume of 390. It's a pretty nice search volume. But at the moment, we optimize it for H1 headings. So you can see the actual post itself is called how to find H1 headings. We don't call it H1 tags. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I went back to the keyword tool in Hike, and I had a look to see what was searched for more, H1 headings or H1 tags. And actually, way more people search for the keyword H1 tags and not H1 headings. So really what I need to do now, and you should follow this same process, is go to this blog post and re-optimize it, or re-optimize it to include the keywords you want to go for, right? And I've actually got the post here, and I thought we can do it live. So what I want to do is I want to get in the keyword tag, I think, and get H1 tag as an exact keyword. So I'm going to leave headings in there because I think it makes sense. I'm going to put now how to find H1 tag headings. And then what I'll do later on is I'll go through here and I'll add in the keyword H1 tag or tag across the page to try and improve the SEO for that. So already I've got an opportunity. And if I can get that onto the first page, it's going to drive us some more traffic. So that's low-hanging fruit. That's how to identify it, and that's how to really rectify it. So let's go back into the presentation. Okay. Let's make sure there's no new participants. Okay, great. So that's low-hanging fruit. Really, really cool. Next is informational versus transactional keywords. I did touch upon this before, but I want to raise it. I was speaking to a client the other day. They were saying, look, we found a bunch of keywords, but we need to understand how to build out a content strategy. And I said, well, look, the first place to start is to understand, for any business, for your sales, you build out a list of keywords. If you want to start optimizing, you've got to understand what kind of page you need to optimize. And that all depends on the type of keyword. So for example, here, if I found the keyword SEO and I go, right, we really want to rank for SEO. If I go to Google and search SEO, what you find is that the type of results that come back are informational results. So Google thinks that the searcher is looking for information. So what does that mean for me from an SEO point of view? It means that if I want to optimize that keyword, I've got to create a blog post or a guide. And now, create a blog post or a guide. However, let's say another keyword, I go to Google and I find that all the results are what we call service pages or product pages. That means it's a transactional keyword. So what does that mean? So if I want to rank for a keyword, let's say SEO agency, I need to optimize a product page or a service page. There's no point me trying to create a blog post because it's not going to rank. It's not what Google wants to show. So really important point. Once you've got your list of keywords, find out if they're informational or transactional, because if you're then optimizing the wrong type of page, you're fighting an uphill battle there. You're really going to struggle. Okay, and here is another quick tip in using the platform. So one of the things, again, I touched on the last webinar, but I think it's really important. If you're using Hike for keyword research, the bit that I really enjoy using the most, and what our team uses to find the best keywords, is this little search box on the left here. So when you go to the keyword research tool, the key to do is to add in loads of seed keywords. So in this little box here, add in lots of keywords, all your products, all your services, all of the variations that you think of words your customers use, as many as you can, right? Don't worry about looking at the results too much. Just bang in loads and loads of keywords. Then go to the competition section and add in loads of relevant competitors. Like for like competitors are for the best. Hike will help you find them, right? Hike will identify competitors based on the keywords you've already added. Add in as many competitors as you have. Once you've done that, come back to Hike and then use this little keyword box here on the left. It's your best friend, right? What it'll do is, let's say you're a plumber and you're like, right, I want to find the best keyword for my I do boiler installations. I want to find the best keywords. Come into here and just type in boiler in there. And then what it will do is Hike will show you all of the keywords that's been returned that mention the word boiler that are from either your keyword searches or all the keywords your competitors rank for, which is such a better and more efficient way of using that information. So use that search box. It's your best friend when it comes to keyword research. Okay, so next we're moving to quick wins for on-page optimizations. This is optimizing the content of your pages, essentially. We're going to talk about three things. So first, keyword in your page title, H1, meta description in your page copy. It might sound obvious, you might know about it, but hopefully I'll frame it in a way that makes a bit more sense. Secondly, optimizing as much as you can, really important. 3, don't duplicate copy. Okay, so when it comes to optimizing a page, you always want to mention the keyword you want to target in your page title, your H1, your meta description, even the first sentence of your page copy. And why is that, right? Now, people think, well, that's what Google's looking for. It's looking for mentions of that keyword within those elements, and they're important SEO elements. But why are they important SEO elements? Why does Google care so much about the page title, the meta description, even the URL, for example? And the reason, it all comes down to our psychology. Think about the last time you searched in Google. So for example, let's say I went to Google and I searched SEO agency. We're skimmers as humans, right? We skim. When we've got a lot of information in front of us, we skim through and we're essentially like, we're looking for something that stands out to us. And what stands out to us the most are mentions of the keyword we've just put in there. So if I've searched SEO agency and I'm skimming down the results, my brain's looking for any result that mentions the word SEO agency, because that means that that website matches exactly what I've searched for. And it's going to stand out to me, right? It's going to stand to me. I'm going to search SEO agency. The first result's going to say SEO agency. And we go, oh, this matches exactly what I need. I'm going to click on this. And that's why it's so important. That's why getting that keyword that you want to rank for into that page title, into that meta description is so, so important. It's not to spam, it's because that's how human beings work. That's what we're looking for. And if you want to get more clicks and rank high, and that's why Google ranks exact match mentions of a keyword high, it's because that's what gets the clicks. Now, you might say, well, why the H1, right? Because the H1 isn't being returned in the result here. Well, interestingly, you might have seen there was Google have been testing recently where they replace this bit here, which is the page title, the meta page title, you might know it on some CMS platforms, and they've swapped it for the H1 on the page. So if they think that the H1 is more relevant to the user search than the page title, they'll put the H1 in. So it just goes to show how important it is to get your keyword into the H1 as well. Okay, optimizing more. This is something people don't think about all the time. What I've found a lot in the past is you'll speak to a business, they'll go, right, I've got 5 keywords I really want to rank for. They've got a 100-page website and they're like, I've got 5 keywords, 5 pages, I'm going to focus just on that. Can you build links to that? Can you optimize those pages? Don't worry about the other 95, doesn't matter. All I want to focus on is those 5 pages. Doesn't really work. Surprisingly, it doesn't really work. The reason being is Google looks at your website as a whole. It wants to see a website that's optimized and great across all the pages. It doesn't want to just see 5 pages that are amazing from an SEO point of view, or amazing from a content point of view, amazing from a page speed point of view, but then the rest of the website's part of rubbish. It looks at your entire website. So you've got to make sure you optimize as much as you can, even if they're not your target products or services for your business. If you've got it on your website, then it's obviously that important to you, right? So use this as general rule of thumb, right? If it's 10%, if your whole website, if it's 10% optimized and then 90% not optimized, you're going to have poor performance, whether the keyword you're going for or the keyword you're not going for. However, if you flip that and you're optimizing the majority of your website, and there's only a little bit not optimized, which might be your contact page, your about us page, whatever it may be, it's not relevant, you're going to have much, much better performance. So don't think just in terms of optimizing the main pages for your main keywords. Think about Google's going to look at your entire website, and you're going to get more traffic anyway. How do you do this with Hike? Essentially, it's pretty simple, right? You want to pick more keywords, find more keywords to be optimized across more pages of your website, add them into Hike, assign them, then Hike can give you recommendations, and that means you can optimize bigger proportions of your website. Okay, moving on quite quickly because I've been waffling a little bit, we're almost halfway. Quick wins for tech SEO. Tech SEO is a bit of a strange one. Some people get a bit afraid by the phrase tech SEO because they think it's quite technical name, but you don't need to be a developer to do technical SEO. There's lots of things that you can do to actually impact your site from a technical point of view that will help your SEO. And what I always say to people is technical SEO is as simple as asking the question, can Google crawl all of my website pages properly? Because that's all tech SEO aims to achieve, to make sure that your website can be crawled. It's the base, it's the foundation. It doesn't help you rank for anything in and of itself. It only helps your content be surfaced. And if that content is optimized, it will help it rank, right? So yeah, it can really help. I'm going to go through three bits that we can use. First, the site operator. Second, page speed, big buzzword in SEO. I'm sure you guys have focused a lot on page speed. And then 3 URLs. Okay, first one, the site search. This is quite an important thing to look at when you're starting your SEO. But even now, if you've not done this before, you're optimizing a website, whether it's your own or your clients, this is something that will take 2 seconds to do afterwards, right? So go away and do this. Go to Google and type in site : so that's what we call the site operator, and then your domain name. Don't worry about putting HTTP, HTTPS. Don't worry about putting in the W's or the non-W's. We just want to get the root domain in there. So put site. So in our example, it'd be site : hikeseo.co. Then you're looking for this little bit underneath. And it says how many results. This is essentially a proxy. It's not exact. It's a proxy to tell you how many pages Google's got indexed on your website. So you want to look at that and go, okay, 336. Does that sound about right for my website? Like we've got lots of blog posts. We've got lots of category pages. We've got lots of service pages. For me, it feels about right. But you'll want to then check that to make sure that actually that's roughly how many pages you do have on your website. Now, if you're a Hike user, you can do this by going to your actions page and going to your action settings. and Hike will tell you how many pages it found when it crawled your website. And what you really want is for those two numbers to be pretty equal. There's other tools that will do that. If you use something like Screaming Frog, Sitebolt, any of the other big tools, SEMrush, Ahrefs, they'll all tell you how many pages that they've crawled. You'll want to make sure that what Google's indexing matches what these tools are showing you. The problem will be is if you see a delta, if you see a difference, if you see that Google has found 10 times more pages than what you thought and what Hike's showing or what another SEO tool's showing, then you're like, okay, Google's indexing some pages that it shouldn't be. And vice versa. If Google's finding far fewer pages than what you've actually got on your website, then you've got a big problem, even bigger problem, because that means Google's not surfacing, finding, and then indexing all your content. If it's not indexing all your content, then you're not going to rank. So it's a quick check to do. Yeah. If it doesn't match, you need to look at the results that Google displays. So yeah, if it doesn't match, have a look at what Google's got. If it's got too many, have a look through and you'll quickly spot the ones you're like, that doesn't look like a page. It might be a strange long URL with maybe a question mark, we call query string, with UTMs or if it's anything like that. And that'll go, okay, so there's some pages being indexed that shouldn't be. If it's too little, have a look at the pages that Google's got indexed and what are the ones that are missing. Then we can start to identify that a little bit more. But definitely a quick win to go away and do that. Okay, quickest win for page speed. I don't want to get too much into page speed. You can delve into page speed. And at some point, you're not really going to get great returns on the effort that you're going to put in. There's a tipping point, I guess. But one of the quickest things you can do is to optimize your images. We see this all the time with small businesses. They add images to their website, you know, whether they're stock images or their own photographs, but they've not been optimized from a file size point of view. So the best and quickest thing you can do is to use a plugin, right? There's lots of plugins. Now, a lot of website platforms will do it automatically. Shopify, great for that, but others won't. WordPress, for example, right? Now, there are lots of great free plugins. If you're a Hike user, then Hike will recommend, you'll have an action to say that images are too big, and it will give you plugins to recommend, plugins to use. If you're not, the best thing, go to Google, search the name of your platform and search image plugin or image optimization. There'll be lots of tools and ways in which you can then optimize the images on your platform without, and most of them are free, so they won't cost you anything. So that's definitely the quickest win. When it comes to other page speed stuff, you can get big wins. It's going to take more time. So just be aware it's going to take more time. You know, this is all about getting quick wins. So I think the quickest win you can get is for optimizing your images. And the reason it's quick is because you can get plugins that will just do it all in one foul swoop. Okay, so let's talk next about URLs. I had to remind myself what this slide was all about. Okay, so clean and simple URLs. You've probably heard that it's very important from an SEO point of view to make sure that your URLs, not your domain so much, but your URLs, the bit past the domain, is short and clean and SEO friendly, because that will help your SEO rankings. It used to. So if it's all about just helping your SEO rankings, then yes, it used to. Google used to take into consideration, it still does to an extent, but nowhere near as much used to. It used to take into consideration what keywords you mentioned in the URL, and it would go, well, if they mention the keyword SEO agency in their URL, then they're an SEO agency, therefore they'll rank better for, we'll rank them higher. But they don't so much anymore, because a lot of people spam it. This is one thing that you'll realize about the SEO industry is they figure out something works and they try and trick Google, right? So it doesn't work so much anymore. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't still do it. And the reason for that is because you might have noticed in Google, and you look at the results here, Google will actually show you what the URL says in a slightly different format. So I searched SEO agency based in the UK, and you'll see its top result, seoworks.co.uk. Then it has SEO-agency. And then if you have a look at this result down here, altagency.co.uk, then it has digital marketing, then it has SEO. It has this lovely structure, right? That's taken directly from the URL. So it's very important if you want, because that's going to help, again, like I was mentioning before, right? Psychology. If I've searched SEO agency, I'm just looking for a result that mentions SEO agency as many times, right? So these guys I'll see SEO agency written there. I'll see SEO agency written there. I'll see SEO agency written there. I'll see SEO agency there and there. It's ticking so many, it's mentioned it so many times, I can't help but click on that result. without even maybe knowing why I've done it. So very, very important. So it doesn't impact your SEO. Google doesn't see SEO agency in the URL and goes, right, they're going to rank for this even higher, but it does improve click-through rate. It means that you're probably going to get more clicks if you have those keywords in your URL and you keep them short and simple. Okay, great stuff. So quick wins for Google Search Console. Yeah, number one, set it up and upload sitemaps. Number two, what to investigate. Number three, inspecting URLs. Now with this one, I thought there's no point actually taking screenshots and doing slides. I thought it would actually be better if we just jumped in and I could show you it. So sitemaps, what to investigate and inspect URL. Let's just go through roughly quick 5-minute guide on the sort of things that I think you guys should be looking at to get the really quick wins. So here we go. Hopefully you can all see my screen okay. So here you go. Here's the Google Search Console account for Hike. The bits that you want to be checking, right? So first off, just get Google Search Console installed for your website. Super duper important. It's free, it's quick, it's easy. There's loads of guides. We have a guide on our blog. You'll find loads online. If you haven't got it set up for your website, for your client, do it now because it gives you so much great SEO information. So the first thing to do is to head over to Sitemaps. Hopefully everyone here, if you have already or not, then you want to create an XML sitemap for your website. A lot of the main CMS platforms will do it automatically. Your Shopify, your Wix, your Squarespace, they'll automatically create an XML sitemap for you. You'll just need to find out where it is. Most of the time, you'll find it by going to your URL and then putting /sitemap.xml, and it will take you to that URL. And then you can copy and paste it and put in there. If you're on WordPress, it doesn't automatically do it. Or at least I don't think it does, but you'll want to use a plugin like Yoast, which is an SEO plugin. Most of you will be aware of it, but install Yoast, it then creates your sitemaps. And then come over to Google Search Console and add your sitemaps into here. Very, very important. What this means is that Google knows where they are. It will be able to find it anyway. So if you don't add them into here, it doesn't mean that Google won't be able to find your sitemaps. But what's more important is that Google will show you any errors with your sitemaps in here, which is really important because Google and other search engines use sitemaps. And I've worked on lots of clients in the past, particularly e-commerce. So if there's anyone watching here that's e-commerce, I've worked on lots of clients in the past, e-commerce, where if their sitemap wasn't up to date, and by that I mean it contained out-of-date pages, perhaps pages, some products that were out of stock and the dead pages, 404s, or it contained redirects, or it just didn't have relevant information at all, which happens more often than you think. By fixing those, had a significant improvement on their SEO, because a sitemap really helps a search engine to understand what pages it needs to index. It can crawl the site, but we have lots of issues. As you're probably aware, Google can't always crawl a site properly. So if you have a sitemap, it really, really helps. So what you want to do, add your sitemap URL into here and click submit. What you find sometimes is you'll have more than one sitemap, and they'll be nested within each other. So on the Hike website, for example, we've got what we call an index sitemap. Now you can see it's got success under the status. That's exactly what you want to see. You want to see the word success. If it says warning, that's when you'll delve into it. It's kind of a good and a bad thing. It says success. It's good, obviously, for our website. It's bad, though, because I can't show you something to improve. Then if you click on it, you'll then see we've actually got separate sitemaps nested within that sitemap. It's a very common thing, especially for WordPress, Yoast sitemaps. So make sure you click into it, and then you're going to see whether it's successful or whether there's errors or warnings. If there's errors or warnings, click on it. It will tell you where the issues are, what URLs you then need to fix that with your sitemap. That'll be a case of rerunning the plugin, updating the plugin, perhaps speaking to your developer if it's something a bit more difficult, but it should be fairly simple. And you can see everything's okay. So quick win, go into Google Search Console, add in your sitemaps if you've not already. It means Google's gonna be able to crawl your site much, much easier. If Google can crawl your site much, much easier, you're gonna rank much, much better. Okay. Next, I will go to coverage. Go into here. I'm not going to spend very long in here, but you want to be looking at this error tab. You can see we haven't got any issues, but you'll want to see if there are any URLs in here that have got errors. It will tell you categories down here of what's wrong. But then you also want to look at excluded. Essentially, excluded means that the page is loaded, there's no errors as such, but Google's not indexing those pages because it deems that they shouldn't be indexed. Now, if you scroll down, it will give you all the categories of why those URLs have been excluded. Now, you see here, crawled, currently not indexed, excluded by no index tag, page with redirects, alternate page with proper canonical tag. Spend some time going through these. What you essentially want to be looking at is if you click on them, look at the results, look at the URLs. Because if you see some URLs in there and you're like, actually, that URL should be indexed, there's no reason why it shouldn't be indexed, then you need to investigate more. But like in this case, for example, it looks like a blog post, but it's the feed. It's a feed that's being created from our website. It's a URL for RSS, right? We don't want it being indexed. So Google's doing the right thing here. So I'm looking down, look, they're all feeds. So I've got nothing to worry about there. But if you spot some URLs in there, not just in there, but in any of these categories, if you spot, sorry, you have to click on every time. If you spot any URLs in any of those categories, they're actually important. You're like, well, that's a page that should be indexed. That's a page that should be crawled, should be getting traffic. Then you need to figure out why look at the category it's in and then work out the solution, work backwards from there. Another important thing is that you can run is you can inspect any URL. This is really, really, really nice feature. So I'll give you an example. Oops. I'll just do it for the home page. Type it into there, you press enter. Then what Google does, it retrieves all the data it's got. So it's lovely looking at it from a page by page perspective. It will bring back, I'll show you in a second, information. There you go, typical. Something always happens with a webinar, doesn't it? But it will bring back what page is being linked to, whether it's being indexed, whether it's not being indexed, any issues that it might have, any more information. You can also render the page. So you can look to see exactly how Google sees it. So obviously Google's a crawler, but how does it view the web page? Is it able to view all the images? There are any issues with JSS, JavaScript, or CSS? So you'll want to do that. But I won't go through it now, but just know that go away, play with this yourself, inspect a URL. You can then look at the HTML screenshot, and then it will give you the rendered version of that. Make sure that matches with what you see when you look at the website. Because if Google doesn't see it as you see it, then there are issues and there might be content that Google's missing out on, and then you might not rank as well. So let's jump back into here and let's go back to present. Okay, great. I can see lots of chat messages, 13. Hopefully that's lots of questions, which is great if so. I hope it's not lots of people going, they can't hear you, Andy, can't hear you, it's all gone wrong. Okay, next, so quick wins for backlinks. Okay, we've got 22, we've got 20 minutes, should be all right. Let's go through this. Okay, only 2 sections in this one. First, lost and broken backlinks. Some quick wins that we can get there in terms of identifying backlink issues and then working out a resolution for them. And number 2, compare versus competitors. So how does your website compare in terms of backlinks against your competitors? Because if you can spot that will then dictate what you should do next from an SEO point of view. So there's a quick way to do that as well. Okay, great. So a lot of people are aware that if they build a good backlink or a good set of backlinks, it will move their website up the rankings, which it will do, right? Backlinks are given a lot of weight in Google's algorithm, good quality backlinks. So you build a lot of good quality backlinks, your rankings are going to increase. But what a lot of people then don't work out is kind of the opposite, right? Is that if you lose a lot of good backlinks, and that can be for a number of reasons we'll talk about, your website's going to decrease in rankings. They're going to fall down the rankings. And that's something that people don't really think about. It's not really talked about very much. Whenever you see a drop in rankings, immediately you're looking on your website. You're going, right, what's happened on the website? Can Google crawl it? Is Google able to index this page? Is there being blocked? But it could be as simple as actually some great backlinks have just stopped working, stopped pointing to your website. So it's good to know that. It's good to keep an eye on these broken or lost backlinks. The best thing to do is just to periodically review. Now, you don't want to be checking this every single day. You'll drive yourself insane. But what you want to do is you want to periodically review your lost backlinks to see all the backlinks that used to point to your website that haven't, to make sure that there isn't a valuable backlink in there. Because it's quite natural to lose some backlinks. It will just happen. You might have a link on a website, that was on a particular category page, and then that category has been deleted because the website owners changed it to another category, whatever it may be. And so you haven't got a link from that page anymore. In those cases, it's not the end of the world. But in a lot of cases, you might, well, in some cases, you might actually have a very, very valuable backlink that's been lost. I worked with a client once who was a photographer, and they lost all of their rankings. When I say lost, they went from page 1 to page 2, but it meant they lost a lot of their traffic. Doing lots of digging, trying to figure out why. Looked at the lost backlinks. Their top backlink, which was from a kind of a photograph association website, a national one, they'd essentially removed the backlink to this photography company's website. They'd done it accidentally, and they lost all their rankings. We got back in touch. They added the link back, so it was an accident, and their rankings all went back within like a month or so. So it can make a big impact. Now, you can do this within Hike. Now, you can do lots of SEO tools. Lots of other SEO tools are available. But if you're a Hike user, this is how you do it. Number 1, go to backlinks at the top. Number 2, click on your backlinks in the drop down. Number 3, click on lost. That will then display in the UI all of the backlinks that that are no longer pointing to your website you see. Please bear in mind that some of the data in there can fluctuate a little bit. Or what you can do, if you really want to geek out, is you can export. You can export your full list of backlinks. It will tell you everything you need to know. It'll give you the new links you've built, but also the links you've lost and the date you've lost it. So if you're just starting to work on the SEO, you want to look at backlinks, start there before doing anything else. Before you start building any backlinks, just check out your lost backlinks, because you might get some quicker wins from doing that. That's a lot easier than building new backlinks. Okay, and what are you particularly looking for? Like I touched on this before, but you're looking for lost backlinks from high domain authority websites, obviously, because they're going to pass through the most amount of SEO value. Relevant industry websites. So as I mentioned with the photography client, there was the kind of the National Photography Association website. It's kind of like a directory, I guess you could call it. They'd remove the link. So you're looking for those industry relevant websites, even industry relevant blogs, and local based websites. So that might take the form of a citation or a local blogger or a local media outlet. You know, you're looking for those kind of higher relevance websites. If any of those are lost, dig a little bit more into it, see what you can find. You might find the link's been placed back there, whatever it may be, but just dig into it, because it could make a big difference for the website that you're optimizing. Okay, next, comparing your backlinks against your competitors. So you can do this in Hike. Where you need to go to is go to the competition section. So like I showed you before, you click on strategy, competition, and then at the top, you'll see a button that says compare competitors. You can then do a comparison against all the competitors you've added into Hike. Now you'll get at the bottom of that page, you'll see this backlink comparison table where it compares you against the competitors. Each one of these columns is a different competitor, by the way, if you've not seen this before. And it shows you comparison, total backlinks, referring domains, trust flow, citation flow, and then domain score. This is kind of, if you're just looking at this for this purpose to see how you square up to your competitors, just look at the domain scores, all you really need to care about. You want to be looking at these. So you can see here, this is the website in Hike, and these are the competitors. So they've got a domain score of 4. The rest have got a domain score of 3. So I'd look at that straight away and I'd go, we don't really need to focus too much on backlink building. Our wins aren't going to come from backlink building because we've already got as strong or stronger domain score than our top competitors. So what does that mean? That means we need to focus more on the on-site work, the actual on-page content creation, on-page optimization, and that's where I need to focus my efforts. However, if you look at this and you see that your domain score is much, much lower than your competitors, then suddenly that means that backlink building as part of your ongoing SEO strategy is way more important, right? You're like, actually, we're down a long way. I'll probably get more results if I was to try and balance out that domain authority than working too much on my on page once the foundation's done, let's say. So you definitely want to be looking at that. You want to be looking, are you strong, like the weightlifter on the left, or are you weak, like the man on the right? How do you square up against your competitors? Do that now, because then that really, it helps you focus on where you should be spending your time. Okay, and where am I spending my time? I've got 15 minutes. So I can get this section done in 5 minutes, and we've got 10 minutes for questions. Okay, so finally, last section, quick wins for blogs. I assume that a lot of the people that are watching this today, you write blogs, or you've got a blog on your website, you have a team member that writes blogs, or perhaps you outsource it. Blogs are very important for SEO for many, many reasons, which I won't touch upon here, but what are the quick wins that you can get from your blog optimization? Okay, 4 sections to this: auditing old pages, refreshing old blogs. People also ask, and internal linking. Okay, so auditing old pages. What happens over time is that blog posts, you create a blog post, and over time, it naturally or organically becomes outdated, right? So I've got an example here. Someone searched SEO in 2021. If you'd written a blog, SEO in 2018, chances are it's dropped down the rankings in the last 3 years, right? Because it's outdated, it's not relevant anymore. You want to be looking for this. That's a very clear example, but you're going to have some examples on your website which might not be date related, but might just be industry related. You know, perhaps you've written the best techniques to do X, and you wrote it 5 years ago, and actually the industry's moved on. There are better techniques to do it, right? Google's not going to like that. And in a way, Google biases towards, now we'll touch upon this, but Google does bias towards more recently created content. So what you want to be looking for from an audit point of view, let's think about audit, you want to look for blog posts that receive no or little organic traffic in the last 6 months. Because if a blog post has had no traffic in 6 months, you can't really blame seasonality that much. It just means Google doesn't like that blog post. It hates the blog post. So there's no point in being there. It could be more just having a detrimental effect on your SEO by even being there, right? So you want to identify them, but how do you identify them? Okay, so Google Search Console. I'm going to talk you kind of step by step. Go into Google Search Console, click on performance. Again, you can do this straight away afterwards. Go to the date range, change it to the last 6 months. You could do last 12 months if you want. That's kind of not very cautious. That's quite cautious. Or you could be a bit more aggressive and do last 3 months, but think about seasonality. Last 6 months is a good litmus test, good proxy of understanding if Google likes something or not. Right, then underneath you've got the table, click on pages, and then click on impressions, right? What this will show you is any pages on your website that over a whole 6 month period have had little to no impressions and little to no clicks. And if that's the case, you want to go, oh, do we need these pages anymore, right? Do we actually need them? Google doesn't like them, hates them. In that case, it could be impacting the SEO pages I want to rank, right? Because that does that can happen, right? If you've got too much, what Google calls thin content it doesn't want to rank, then you're not even going to rank for the pages that are well optimized, right? So look through those and see. Now, these are category pages, page 1, page 2. I don't have to worry about those, right? They're never going to get impressions. They're never going to get clicks because there's such deep pages. But if that was a blog post, and I think this is kind of what I'm aiming towards it, if that was a blog post and it's getting very few impressions, few clicks, do we really need it, right? So what can we do? Can the blog be refreshed? Can we bring it up to date? Can the blog be combined with another one? You know, if you've got two half blog posts, 2 blog posts aren't performing very well, can you combine them and make a super blog post that Google will love? Is the content just thin, poor quality? You can't refresh it. You can't combine it with another one. Perhaps it's just a really old blog post someone wrote that doesn't even work in the business anymore. Kill it off. Kill it off, 404 it, and 301 redirect the blog to another page on the website. Just don't have it there anymore. Then it can't negatively impact your SEO. Right, another thing to touch upon here. I did a little search, SEO tips. What's really interesting to see? The dates. All of the dates are within the last year, right? Well, with the exception of this one, the last 14 months, let's say. 2020, 2020, 2021, 2021. The only one that doesn't have a date, interestingly, is Google's own result. No, interesting. What does this mean? It means you need to update your key posts, because if, let's say, as Hike or as anyone else, you wrote a blog post about SEO tips that was written in 2019, would it rank now? Probably not, because Google is biased in this case, and rightfully so, towards content that's more up to date, because that's going to give the user, the reader, the best information, because SEO moves on, right? And that's why Google, for stuff like this, is going to favor modern blog posts. That doesn't mean you need to write a new blog post every year, but it means you need to update it. Because what will happen is if you update a blog post, it will update this date. You can actually, some SEOs, I'm not condoning this, some SEOs, in order to get better rankings, go into WordPress or whatever blog they use and just manually update the date. They change it. They don't change the content. They just say, you know, it was written in 2016. Oh, now it's written in 2020. And then Google thinks it's written in 2020, and they have reported better rankings. So it just goes to show how important data is. People also ask, if you're looking for new blog ideas, focus on the questions that people ask around your topics. So you can do this for national and local, right? If I'm trying to rank for plumber, a national keyword, and I look at the people also ask, great questions. Can I write blog posts for these? Can I combine them and create a really nice blog post? But you can do it for local stuff. Plumber Chicago, it's got people also ask questions as well. So it's not just for national, it's great for local businesses as well. And then use Hike's Content Wizard. You know, you'll instantly create an in-depth content brief for all of those people also asked, right? And you can then combine them, put them together, create a super blog post. How do you get there? I'm going quite quick now because of time. On the content idea tool, click the plus button, it adds it to your content scrapboard on any people also ask question. Then click on the content scrapboard, and then you'll see it in the content scrapboard. And then if you click on the content wizard, it then generates your content brief for you. And finally, internal links. Internal links really, really powerful. You can use blog posts to create additional internal links. How do you do that? I hear you ask. Go to Google, do the site colon search I told you before, right? Site colon your website.com.co.uk, wherever it may be. And then the keyword that you want to rank for, right? So for us, it might be SEO software. For you, might be plumber. Take any one of your keywords and put it in speech quotes. What Google's going to do then is it's going to show you a list of pages, and it no doubt will show you blog posts that mention that keyword. You can then click on that blog post or within your CMS platform and link that keyword. So let's say we've got a blog post that mentions the keyword SEO software. I'd go into that blog post, I'd edit it, and I'd internally link the keyword SEO software to the page that we're optimizing SEO software. So that's a real quick and easy way to find internal link opportunities that will boost the keywords you want to rank for. Right, and I think, there we go. We're over to questions. So we've got 7 minutes left. Let's go into the chat box and see what we can do. Oh, excellent. I can see that Nadia's been responding to everyone. So let me just go through and see if there's anything that I can add to Nadia's responses to other questions. How do you find if the keyword's informational or transactional? So yeah, Nadia's sent a link to a help article, but really the best way you can do it, Hike will do it, but it will do it after the fact, right? So if you add a keyword into Hike, assign it to a page, we will then search it in Google and we'll tell you if it's information. So you can do that. If you want to find out before you assign it, the best way, read the guide, but just go to Google. You know, go to Google, search a keyword and look at the results. Are all the results like how-tos or what is or top 10 tips? They're all clues to show that Google thinks it's informational, because it's not giving you a page where you can transact and buy something. Whereas vice versa, if all Google's given you is like product pages, service pages, no blog post, then you know it's transactional and you need to optimize accordingly. From the SEO perspective, which is a better URL structure? It's a great question. My website /city/service or my website /service. Really great question, Steve. It all depends upon what keywords you're optimizing for. Are you optimizing for those keywords on a location basis? I.e., let's say you offered plumbing in 4 different cities. You can't optimize plumbing in 4 cities on one page. So you would need to create pages for each one of those locations. So in that case, you'd have to do the first option, which would be /city1 /plumbing /city1 /city2 /plumbing. Depends on how many locations you want to optimize. Next question. Site colon is showing up sandboxes used when the site was being developed. Is this going to harm? I don't really understand showing up sandboxes used when the site was being developed. Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I understand that now. This is a very common thing when people get a website built, the developers will build on different domains, like perhaps a subdomain or a sandbox here. If Google can access a version of your website on a different URL, like a staging website that the web developers had, and it can access your website, which is on your domain, the one that's live. But if Google can access both and they both have the same content, then yeah, that's going to cause issues because it's duplicate content. So you don't want any previous sandbox websites or anything that your developers did to be indexable, to be live Because then when Google calls your site, it goes, well, it's already available on this Sandbox website or this developing, the staging domain. So it's not good. So you want to make sure that those development domains taken down ASAP. So it's just your website. It's the only website that Google can find that contains that content. Pat, is having a Wix website a losing battle in trying to improve SEO? James has responded here. No, Wix is great. I've built so many sites on Wix that rank well. Yeah, you know, most website CMS platforms now, you know, it was just WordPress originally, but now all of them you can optimize to a good level. Where they do differ sometimes is perhaps their flexibility in terms of SEO. WordPress, because of its plugins, Shopify, because of its plugins as well, you can do lots when it comes to an SEO point of view. You have lots of flexibility. With sites like Wix and Squarespace, you have a little bit less, but you have the core features there. So as long as you're not building a 50,000 page e-commerce website that's going to have really complex indexing arrangements with Google, then you should be fine. But you know, do your research. You should be fine if you're a fairly small website, and you can perform well, as James said. Okay, right. Let's see what else. Okay, there was a question here. With Wix on blog pages, it adds name, news, and then the blog title. Is this detrimental to have the extra layer after the site name, such as that? Now just recommended canonical. I think that's the response. I'm sorry, I'm trying to go through quickly. Anyone here have experience with hosting sites with Zenfolio and optimizing for SEO? Yes. Is Zenfolio, could be way off here. Is that the photography one? If so, yes, I do. If not, no. If it is the photography one, then yes, you can optimize it from a basic level. Steve, what's the optimal number of words each article should have for the best chance to rank on the first page? Great question. It really is how long's a piece of string. The best thing to do in terms of understanding how many words you should write for a blog post to rank is to look at all the blog posts that are ranking on page 1 and write as many or slightly more than those guys. What I've seen is I've seen both extremes not perform. So let's say the average number of words for a blog post on the first page is 1,000. I've seen websites that write a 200-word blog post not rank because they've just not got enough content compared to their competitors. So Google's like, it's just not good enough. I've also seen instances where someone writes a 10,000-word blog post, it doesn't rank because it's overdoing it. Look at the people on there, try and match what they're doing word count-wise, or maybe just slightly exceed it. But yeah, actually, now just giving a good kind of benchmark, 500 is probably just a good benchmark. Probably wouldn't go much lower than that because you need to mention enough copy, enough relevant semantic keywords, which you'll do naturally in 500 words. James, how do you go about applying SEO to landing pages? I'm thinking about building 3 pages for 3 products. The same as you'd optimize any other pages, really. You want to find the best keywords for them, the most relevant, the most achievable. Make sure that they're transactional, not informational keywords, because if they're going to be landing pages, right, not blogs. You then want to optimize your meta, your headings, your copy. Look at the competition. Look at how many words they're using on their landing pages. Look at the type of assets they're using. Match what they're doing at least. Then you can bolster kind of the performance of those pages by making sure that you internally link from blog posts. So like I mentioned at the end of the webinar there, do that site search, search for the keywords, find blog posts that mention those keywords that you can link from those blog posts to those new landing pages, perhaps even build some external links. So yeah, that's kind of some kind of tips for you there. Michelle, I've read different views on how to optimize for X near me. Some blogs you say you have to actually use the words near me. Others say Google does this based on map packs, so you don't need to say near me in your content. Yeah, great question, Michelle. And it's an interesting one. I used to be in the camp, and I still am, but I think it's sometimes more complex. Google doesn't really use near me. When someone searches near me, if I search plumber near me, Google looks at my location and essentially replaces the word near me with my location. So say I'm in Birmingham, I'd search, instead of the search being plumber near me, Google treats it as being plumber Birmingham. However, that's not always the case, because you do get a lot of national brands who provide plumbing services across every city, and they rank very well and they optimize for the phrase near me. So what I would do
is I would, for each business, for each of you guys listening, search the keyword in Google. So go to Google and search whether it's plumber near me and look at the results. And is Google showing results that actually mention near me in the page title, in the meta description, in the URL? Click on the results. Do they mention near me in the copy? If they do, and most of them do, then you need to do the same. If they don't, and they're just optimizing for that location, which I think will be the most instances will be that, then do that. Hope that helps, Michelle. Right, we're at the end. Excellent. Great. Just a couple minutes, so I'll just finish this one. Pat, how often should I add a blog to a website or add a blog to Google My Business, which restricts to 1,500 characters? Yeah, great question. As a rule of thumb, I always say try to do at least 2 a month. That's what we try to do on the Hike website. Google built into its algorithm many years ago fresh content. It loves websites that produce fresh content. And that's still the case now, right? It shows that you're an expert and an authority and trustworthy in your industry. You know, if you're producing these fantastic blogs that are 10,000 words plus, and they're so in depth and you can't do any more than 1 a month, then so be it, right? But if you're doing it from a purely SEO point of view, I'd probably look to do 2 a month. That would really help. And that's everything. So I hope you've all found it very, very helpful. Thanks everyone that's turned up. Really appreciate it. The recording will go out tomorrow. So it'll go via email to you guys. It will also be on the Facebook pages. So make sure you've joined our Facebook pages. Search Hike SEO for startups, Hike SEO for agencies if you're an agency. And hope you found it helpful. And thank you all for the comments. I really appreciate you coming. Hope you found it helpful, and we'll catch up very soon. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.